Hello, and welcome back to the Bring Your Big Energy podcast. Today's guest is Toby Brazwell. He is a seasoned sales leader and a leadership professional. He's a community advocate, he's a speaker, and the author of the Empowerment Chords. Welcome, Toby.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it, Stace. Good seeing you as always. As
Uh,
always.
As always, for sure, we bump into each other every once in a while in our community here, and every time it's an absolute delight and a brainstorm of all kinds of great activities. So we're happy to have you on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So I'm gonna fangirl you for a little minute. Okay, so that's how I always start the show. So get your heart ready.
Love it.
So Toby brings more than 15 years of experience in the insurance industry, where he's built and mentored high-performing teams. He's supported agency owners, and he's really helped people grow their confidence and their leadership presence. So across business and community involvement and personal growth, there's been this consistent invisible thread running through all of Toby's work. And so we're going to explore that today. And really that thread, which is such a beautiful one, and I know so many of our listeners care about, is crafting connection with confidence. Like that is such a word that has so much meaning for all of us. And so, how do we craft connection with confidence? So, we'll talk about that today. A fun fact that I love is Toby's also an author like myself, and he's the author of the book, The Empowerment Chords. And so, that was inspired by Toby's earlier life. He had a whole different life before this, playing in bands. So, long before sales leadership and community work, he was learning about rhythm and listening and collaboration through music. So these were lessons that later became the foundation of how he thinks about confidence, connection, and leading with authenticity. More recently, Toby expanded that same commitment to connection into the civic space. So he was engaging deeply with his community as he always does, and he did it this time through a local city council campaign. And so that experience really further reinforced what he's seen time and time again, that leadership isn't about titles. It's not about the outcome, but it's about trust and presence and how we connect with people. So today we're talking about crafting connection with confidence, how it shows up in careers, communities, and everyday leadership, and why it's been the through line behind Toby's professional and personal achievements. Toby, I'm so glad you're here. Did I miss anything?
You did fantastic. That was lovely. Always, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this later on. But a lot of times, the people that I talk to, when they struggle with confidence in their leadership style, and whether it's in their life or their work life or personal life, they oftentimes forget what they've done. They forget what they've done. They forget the path and the journey. And it's good to be reminded so that you know just how strong you are and what you've accomplished in the past, and it hopefully will fuel you to take the gift that today is and tomorrow to build on and do even more things. So yeah, so thank you.
Well, you're so welcome. No, I absolutely love that. When I have people, and then we're going to get into these questions, but when I have people struggling with confidence as an executive coach, one of the things I have them do actually is write a success list, right? Like
Mm.
you have evidence that proves that you're epic. And so I'm glad to be able to brag on you a little bit. So,
Yeah.
okay. All right. So, Toby, we'll start with what was the defining intensity point in your career that really taught you connection, not credentials, was actually what moves people? And how did that moment shape your philosophy around crafting connection with confidence?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I'm a musician. I've been a vocalist, so connecting with the audience has always been important. And I had a different take on connection before. We had a gig. It's like, okay, we just get up and they call our name. We get up there on stage. We do the songs. Do the countdown and just get into it. And if the music connected with people, then great. But I learned, especially when it came to the marketing of our music, that it's going to take a little bit more. So here's a quick story. You know,
Yes. We love stories.
man, I was at Kroger's, it's a grocery store, and my friends and I, we had just got done. We're super excited. We just got done coming out with our CD. We've got CDs basically in our backpacks, and we're like just trying to sell to as many people as we can. I remember we had parked in Kroger's, think we're trying to get some Gatorade or something like that. And I'm just so excited. I'm just new CD in my hand. I know it's good. I'm super confident in it. And I first lady I see, I'm like, "Hey, do you want to buy her CD?" And she's like, "No, thank you." And she walked on. And then my guy was like, "Toe." His name is Storm. all as hip hop guys, we all have, various names. That's just how it
Love
works.
that.
And so Storm was like, Tobe, I admire your confidence and you just asking for the sale right off the bat. I think that that's great, especially with a stranger. But you didn't build anything up to that point. There was no, hey, how you doing? There was no introduction. Um, you kind of got to set the table before we can eat, And I was like, okay,
Mm.
I got you. So, and I've had moments like that. When you initially had asked me that question, Stacey, you had sent some of those questions over to me. Uh, there's so many moments like that I have these points. It's like it was an aha moment. Like if I really have to connect with this person, it's beyond the music. It's past that. It's they can like the song, but not like you. And if they don't like you, then where are we at? So if that connection, and then vice versa. I've had people buy the music that didn't really like that genre of music, but they liked me.
Mhm.
They liked me, and that was important. That kind of taught me something. And now older, I realize what it was. I used to say everything is all about sales. Everything is sales. I'm changing that now. Everything is connection. Everything is
Mm.
about connection. It's different. And
Mm.
I think that that's important because selling oftentimes means I'm getting something, you're getting a service. Connection, it can be that, but it is a lot of times, hey, I'm giving you me. I'm giving you access to me. We have a connection here and I want to learn more about you. So it's a little bit different. It's about growth. Connection is about so many things, but it can be about growth. And that's what I love about it.
I love that. And in fact, I coming into this conversation, I hadn't even thought about this, but I want to look at the two parts separate first if we can, and then let's look at them together. So you talked about your friend Storm, which is like such an epic name, by the way. Shout out to Storm wherever you're at. Um, you talk about setting the table, and that to me is connection. What does that mean, and what does that look like, and how can our listeners think about how to be effective at doing that?
Yeah. So I believe so I use this analogy a lot with people that people don't like hard. They don't like hard. People typically will default to the path of least resistance. And I think in sales, like if we take a sale, life insurance, for example, life insurance is I can just see our listeners right now virtually listening to this and rolling their eyes like, oh my God, life insurance. Oh, no one wants to talk about it. The application is painful. The application is like watching Dancing with Wolves. This is a long movie. It's like reading Grapes of Wrath. This is a very long book.
You're
No
actually
one.
making it way more interesting than it usually is, actually.
Well, one thing I learned is like, man, if I can preemptively be very familiar with these questions and also fill in the information that I know so that I don't have to ask you questions that I already know the answer to. If I can do that, that is essentially setting the table and it means prep work. I don't believe that we can freestyle a masterpiece. I believe that it takes practice and it takes preparation. I don't even believe in this day and age, I'm really trying to be careful with my words. I feel like my mind is like a teleprompter most cases, unless I have some bourbon, in which case I just let it go. I really try to watch my words and I don't believe in luck. I do believe in prayer and preparation,
I
right?
don't
I do
either.
believe
I never say good luck to people ever.
yeah,
Prayer and
I'm
preparation.
trying to wean myself off of saying good luck because it's just something that people say. But now I
Yeah.
typically say, "Hey, I'm praying for you. I'm
Yes.
praying for you. I'm thinking about you."
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think that there's so so if we're setting the table, it's preparation, man. It's preparation. The more times that you've role played man, I've thought 10, 12 times how this conversation can go left or how it can go right, how it can go off. And I've practiced what I will say if that were to happen. And that practice has made me confident. And now with that confidence, I mean, there's no guarantee that the conversation will go well or that this incident will go well, but at least I feel better equipped.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually teach an entire, I don't even know if you know this, but I teach an entire class on networking, like
Mm,
executive back for executives. So at a
sure.
like a higher level. And one of the things I say is like, network is or connection is not an innate thing that you're necessarily born with. It is
Hmm.
absolutely something like, I'm going to go into this room. What is my goal? Is it breadth? Is it depth? Who are the players that I want to talk to? And not in a manipulative way, but in a prepared way. How can I research them? And how can I practice some of these scenarios? Because I do believe that it is something that people who even are more of an introvert, right, can find themselves to get comfortable with it if they've done the practice and they've done the pre work, because it doesn't always come natural for people. So, okay, so connection, I hear you say setting the table is
Hmm.
around prep work, practice.
Hmm.
Is there anything else that goes into that connection piece that you want us to talk about?
Well, I like the setting the table analogy, and like you had mentioned, having a goal, and you got to find a way to make it fun for you. And I know for me, I like to give myself missions, right? I like to give myself missions. I used to play basketball when my knees didn't hurt. Now, I do not play basketball. One thing that I used to do is like, man, I'm not the world's best basketball player, like by no means, but I can do a couple of things. Well, sometimes with our efforts, I would just try to like, okay, this is my goal for this game. My goal is to not, I'm going to prevent this other guy from scoring points, or I'm going to get this many rebounds. I want to help my team in these ways. So it's very prescriptive, and that made the game, it was almost like a game inside the game. Networking, I think, can be the exact same thing. It seems like this big thing, but if we can break it down to little missions, how many people did you meet, right? What's your mission? What are you going to say about yourself? What did you learn about these people? And can we make this conversation more about them than it is about you? And did you have a goal going in as far as like who you can meet? Like who do you need to meet in order for this to be deemed successful? Too many times we're going into these networking situations and we don't have a clear goal. That is essentially like going to the grocery store and not having a list. That drives me crazy.
Hmm.
Especially if you're hungry, Stacey. If we're hungry, look,
Hmm.
your grocery cart will be filled with Fritos, Cheetos, and all the other junk food that's out there. We got to have a
Hmm.
list. And that way we're not wasting money, and in this case, wasting our, networking energy on things and relationships that won't benefit us.
Well, that's so good. Yes, I don't frequent the grocery store for just that reason. But yes, I completely agree. Okay, there's a couple. So you're just always like so many diamonds in here that I want to mine with you. Okay.
Sure.
But one, you talked about like, well, when I played basketball, I learned this and I applied it here. When I was a musician, I learned this applied there. And so, I guess maybe a statement, not even a question. I love this way that you talk about this transference or this translation of these different identities and learnings you've had along the way and how you apply them to something that's really important to you, which is connection. Because a lot of times, what I do is I help executives find better jobs making more money for my executives. And one of the things we really talk about is they're like, I'm not good at networking. I'm not good at this. I'm like, but you're really good at strategic planning. You're really good at stakeholder management. It's really those same tools and just having the ability to see that you can translate those into and apply them. And so I love that you have these experiences in other places of your life that you apply. And I think a lot of times people don't necessarily see those invisible threads. So to
Hmm.
anyone listening out there, like think about what you're really good at and apply that to something you want to be better at. And chances are you've got a lot of tools you hadn't even thought of. So,
Absolutely.
so that's one statement. And the other thing that you said that I love, and this is where I want to ask you a question is, you said find out what you learn about these people. And this is one of my favorite things. And again, we haven't even known each other a long time, but one of my favorite things about you is you're a very good listener. And I don't think
Thank you.
you're welcome, but I don't think a lot of people are good listeners. Again, I not an ad, but also teach a class in effective questions and active listening. And 2% of the population is even trained on effective listening.
Hmm.
And so the way you learn about people is to listen. And the way you
Hmm.
make real connection is to listen. So, what can you teach us there in terms of learning and connecting and being a great connector in that value exchange?
Well, I think we need to, my major was criminology and in college, which is very different from what I do right now.
I didn't
I,
actually
f-
know that. So, that's a good fun
yeah, yeah.
fact.
Another fun fact, but one thing, criminology is basically it's the sociology of crime. So learning more about people that deviate from social norms and commit these, criminal acts is a great way to figure out how we can prevent it from happening in the first place. And that means listening. That means it's studying, it's learning. I know that everyone's favorite subject is themselves. That is a proven fact. That is just how it is, and I feel like if you can turn conversations where you can talk about, people can talk about themselves, or you can hear people talk about themselves, man, you'll find the common threads, and that can make the conversation so much better. If we can somehow just make work not work, if we can find a
Yes.
way to make work fun, and by doing what we enjoy to do, man, life just gets so much better. And listening is the key. I feel listening is definitely, it's just an important ingredient in this. I feel like we've all had good food and bad food. We can talk about it. But have you ever had just chicken, let's just say chicken, that was unseasoned? Now, I will say this, Stacey, I have, and I will tell you who made it. I did. It was an accident. It was horrible. I was in a rush. I was on another call. I was on a call. I was doing like 10 million things, and put the chicken in the pan and fried it. So I had food that was done, was edible, but had a tough time eating it because I
Yeah.
didn't have the right seasoning. Now, listening is the seasoning for relationship building. It is the seasoning, because that's how you get the different textures, how you get the different flavors of what a relationship can bring out. So, yeah, I think it's important. I think listening is truly key, and I you have to be intentional about it. You have to be intentional, and you have to understand that the way that society is right now, it works against you in this skill building, because everybody wants everything right now. We do not want to
Hmm.
wait for anything. And with listening, you actually have to take a step back. You actually have to take a step back and really, and it's more than just giving people a turn to talk. It's actually now internalizing and really processing what they're saying too. So it's all those things. And I really got to thank my wife for helping me build this listening tool, because we're talking about connections, but it's inside and outside of the boardroom where this connection skill can be used in listening, truly listening to our spouses, our children, our siblings, parents, whatnot. It gives you just good skills to rely on in business sense. Well, but definitely an ingredient for a good relationship.
Oh, that's so true. And shout out to Kaj. He has an amazing
Hmm.
wife who I love. And it's so funny because when I teach my class, I'll say, now go home and try this on people that you love. And you can be a better partner, you can be a better mom, you can be a better sister, a better daughter, and a better executive. So I absolutely agree. In one moment, I'm going to take us over into the confidence side of the house. But I guess one last question in terms of connection is, and your connection, and I know we're talking a lot about networking, but connection through sales or connection through networking or learning from others a skill that you want to learn, whatever type of connection it is that we're looking for. How do you create that difference between transactional and actual
Hmm.
genuine connection? What's the sweet spot there?
Yeah. Well, I guess the way I like, I love my analogies. So I look at transactions as being like fast food. If you're really, really hungry and you need it, hey, boom, done deal. I feel that true connection is consultative, and it's going to take time. This is like a home cooked meal. This is a little bit different. This is going to stick with you, right? So we got In and Out Burger, right? Really In and
Yep.
Out.
Yep.
And we have and we have this home cooked meal, right?
Yeah.
That's going to stick with you. It's different. It takes time. The other thing I will say with true connection also is that I feel that transactional, and we'll probably talk about it a little bit later, but transactional is kind of like it's a two-dimensional situation. True connection is three-dimensional. There's depth to it. And I think once, the depth comes through listening, right? It comes in actually really caring, and all of the things that lead to true, like, good and effective leadership. We have a lot of these similar qualities, with the listening, but it's also empathy, and it's also vulnerability as well.
Mm.
So I think that they're just, you have to be comfortable with that. You have to accept that we are imperfect and we will, perfection is not, perfection is a myth. It's an illusion. This is not, we're never going to have a perfect conversation, but what we can have is a good conversation, a damn good conversation. And that will do the job most times. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, and way more interesting. Like if we ever talk to the person who's perfect and it's like no judgment, but it's like, what am I going to talk about? This person is so perfect. Like I can actually relate to that person too. And there needs to be this like notion of relatability. We got a doctor on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and I was
Hmm.
asking them to go into a very personal space. It was a really good learning. And that person was like, is this going to make me seem too vulnerable? Like I'm a doctor. And I said, no. I said, I think this is amazing because it's going to show
Hmm.
people how you're amazing and you're human too, right? And so we
Absolutely.
we went there and they really appreciated it. Um, okay, so let's get into confidence. This is the word. And so many people I think talk about imposter syndrome. And I'm like,
Mm.
can we just talk about confidence instead? Like, let's just move over there. And so for me, and a lot of people that I work with, this is a huge thing that I work with folks coaching on, right? And so confidence, the thing about confidence is sometimes we're afraid that it seems like we're bragging or it's more about our performance. So how do you define confidence that actually connects people instead of pushing them away of like, I'm so confident, I'm so great. So just kind of tell me some stories or work me around like what that looks like for you.
Yeah. I think, it's always there is a line between, somebody that's arrogant and somebody that's confident. But I feel like confidence is built over time. And I feel like with anything, you need to have a cornerstone for this foundation, right? So what is a cornerstone? Well, this is like one square of this building that we know that we know we can build this structure based on this, and this structure being you, built hopefully for success. I feel like arrogance is just veneers. It is a dollhouse. This is not something that's meant to keep anybody warm. There's no insulation. It just looks like a home, but it's nothing. The only way you're going to build that up, and I do want to stress the word building, is through time. You have to have the right resources, who, and you shouldn't be, you are the master builder. It's your main responsibility, but there are other people that you're going to have to call on to help you. And I feel like this is like an idea that I have. It's called Friendship Incorporated, where we look at our friends as being consultants that we call in from time to time. As I don't believe that we all have, there's no perfect friend that is an end all be all. They know everything. Just like with building a home, there's not some builder that knows everything. Hey, Sam's a builder, perfect. But Sam doesn't do electrical stuff. He does not touch that. He doesn't want to die before it's his time. So he
Right.
calls an electrician to do that part. He maybe Sam does all these other things, but Sam does not do roofing. He doesn't do that, or he doesn't do HVAC. He calls in these other people. I think with confidence, I think the role playing is there, but I think you need your friendship or your group to remind you of the things that you're good at, help you practice on the things that, you call those like the areas of opportunity to get better at those things. We also need to know, need to have kind of a blueprint of what we're building. Like, Toby, what do you want to be good at? What's the goal here? What are we building? Are we building a church? Are we building a school? Are we building a ranch, a home that's a ranch, or is it two stories, a split level? You need to know what we're building here. How do you see yourself in the future? What does that look like? Your friends, your friend group, you know, these trusted advisors, these mentors need to have an idea of what that is and then help you put that plan together, or look at your plan and be like, okay, I think this is good, but right here, I think you're off. I think we need a couple more feet. Like, hey, the way that you have it set up right now, Toby, the bathtub that's in the bathroom is not big enough to fit you. You're 6'4", Toby. How are you
Yeah.
going to fit, how are you gonna fit in this bathtub? That's just not a good plan. So I believe it's a foundation that we got to build, and it happens over time, and in baby steps. I hope that answers. I hope that answers the questions. I deal with a lot of people. I talk to so many people that are not confident, in certain areas of their life. They're just not confident. They don't have it. But they're very confident in other things. And I ask them, why? How are you confident in this but not in this? Well, I've been doing that for years. I said, well, do you remember how you started off doing that? You were terrible. An expert chef has burnt
Yes.
plenty of dishes. That's how they got good. That's how they
Yes.
got good. But we have to create space for people to fail. They have to be
Yes.
comfortable with failure. And it's that failure is really the fertile soil that growth can come from, and that confidence can come from. So it's a lot. Gotta I know that was a long-winded answer, but it's not a quick thing that you can just say and be done.
Yes, yes. And I think so many people think that confidence is just something that you're born with and it's an innate thing. And what you said that's so fascinating, though, I've never heard anyone say is it can be done in partnership. Because the vibe I've always got, I mean, I literally was like, aha moment over here, 25 years in corporate America. I was like, wow, I was always taught as a leader at Google, like you just had it together. You had your confidence and you knew your
Mhm.
ability. Now, I always was the type of leader that always hired people that were smarter than me because I think that's the way to be a great leader. Because then you don't have to have all the answers. You have to have the best team, and you have to have a collective good that does that rise up together. And that did help my confidence because I had shout out to my team at Google. They were amazing leaders. But that being said, I don't know that many people think about building their own confidence in partnership. And with this Friendship
Mhm.
Incorporated, I think that's great. And so, how can all of us be good partners to someone that we know is like badass, but they don't see it themselves? What advice would you give to them?
Well, I think one thing I oftentimes look at is this. Everybody wants every day to be a good day. Everybody wants that. And I always say to my friends, "Hey, let's make sure that we're intentional with our day, with the steps that we make, and let's try to make it a good day. Make it a good day. And if you can't make it a good day for yourself, then make it a good day for someone else." And a lot of times, that last part is the key. Somebody could be having a terrible day, and I'll just say me. I've had more bad days than I would like to remember. This is the reason why I'm bald right now, Stacey. Bad days. All right. There's no Rogaine in the world that can solve
That's awesome.
this. All right, that's it. That's it. But I will say this is that there is, I've had the joy of having good days, and I've also had the joy of helping others have good days. And man, I'm telling you, helping somebody else have a good day, it makes your day better. Like you did that, you helped
Yes.
someone, you opened up the door for someone else. That's wonderful. Now, with that all being said, okay, can we help others have more better days and still have the end result, maybe not immediately, but later on be a good result for yourself? Yeah, absolutely. That's part of networking. It's part of connections. It's a I believe that connections is chemical. And if you've ever been in a chem lab, we always hypothesize what the end result will be. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we have a surprising result. Like, okay, this happened and we got this in addition. It is that surprise result. And that is what true connection can be in helping others, helping strengthen others, and helping others succeed. You'll have the reaction. Yes, Jan is successful. I helped Jan be successful. And Jan introduced me to someone that I never knew before that is has done this, and this for me that can open up these other doors for me. And it wasn't like that's the whole reason I helped Jan in the first place. This is just happenstance happened. And I firmly believe in that. You know, yeah, that's what I would say. But yeah, partnership. When you think about it, as I've read your book, loved it. If
Thank
you
you.
haven't picked it up, you need to. Uh,
Thank you.
and you've done a lot of fantastic things, and you know a lot of fantastic people. But I think you would agree that you didn't do the fantastic things by yourself. You had
No.
a team, you had a
Mm-hmm.
family, you had
Mm-hmm.
you had people that were with you lockstep.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way it happens. I think we have this image of this false image of what success looks like. I'm a big Stevie Wonder fan. Stevie Wonder is like he is my north and south when it comes to music. Like that's my dude.
I
Okay.
love that.
And so I used to listen to his albums, and I still do, and I look at the credits. My God, Stevie did this, Stevie did that, Stevie did all the vocals, Stevie did all the instruments, he did the background vocals, he did the lead vocal, he wrote the damn song. I'm like, Stevie is killing. And so in my mind, as a musician, I wanted to do it Stevie style. I wanted to do everything.
Yeah.
Stacey,
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this or not. I am not Stevie. Like I can't. I could not keep up. And my friend was like, dude, by the time you get good at the one thing that's not even your passion to do, by the time you get good at that, you know, how much good music could you put out? Why don't you hire people to do the things that you don't like doing? Man, that's so smart. Like
Yes.
why use the people, use the resources that you have. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many cooks and assistant cooks are in the kitchen. All we care about is what's plated. That's all we care about. In music, we don't care how many people will worked on the song, we don't care how many instruments you had in there. We care about the final product. Does it sound good?
Yeah. Are we jamming
And
to it? Yeah.
are we jamming? Is it on
Yes.
time,
Yes.
Stacy? Is it
Yeah.
on time? Is it in the right key, Stacy? All of those things. And in work, all we care about, you know, outside of, was it done with integrity and all those kind of things? We just care about, did we hit the goal? Did we hit the goal? Okay. You hit the goal and you had people to help you. Fantastic. We all learned. Okay, good. Move on. So, yeah.
I love that. So confidence is a team sport. I
Yeah.
absolutely love that. And I think you're right. There's so many inputs to go into it. And if you have people that are going to give you perspectives on what you're great at or what you're not great at. Like I've talked about it as
Mhm.
board of directors before, but again, I've never attached it to this notion of confidence and helping you be more confident. And I also love what you said about how can I help someone else have a great day? I'm going to
Yeah,
start using that. Actually, when my kids leave, I have
please.
three kids, as you know. And when they leave, only two live here now, but when they leave every day, I say, watch for your wonderful, look for your wonderful. You got to watch for it all day long and come back and tell me what your wonderful was at the end of the
Mm,
day. So now
I
I
like
think I
that.
need to say, okay, watch for your wonderful and see if
Mhm.
there's someone else's day that you can make better.
That's it.
And I
That's
love
it.
that. That's so good. Okay, so love all that. So the other thing I think too comes with confidence. And so you're in sales, have been for
Mhm.
a long time. I built a whole career in sales as well. But when it comes to selling ourselves, that's a
Mhm.
very different feeling than selling life insurance or selling Google ads. And I think that's where I have a lot of people that come to me. So I do a lot of work with people on their tell me about yourself statement when they're interviewing. So, Toby, tell me about yourself. And so it's your way to like sell yourself. And it's very uncomfortable for most people to do that. And so they'll write it
Mhm.
and they'll AI it and then it'll sound horrible. And we'll do a shitty first draft and then we'll giggle and then we'll get it great. And it's a workshop. But I guess what's your thought on like how to sell yourself versus a product and still have it authentic and connected?
Yeah, I think that, the people that you work with, they're blessed to have you in their corner to kind of say, like, hey, no, redo and take two. And we're
Yeah,
the end scene
yeah,
and let's start it again.
yeah,
But for people that don't have that, I mean, hopefully you do have again this friendship incorporated, this core of people that can, you know, tell me one, it is a good exercise because I think a good exercise to do, but so many of us see ourselves differently than how other people see us or how we think other people see us. And it's always a good exercise not to stress people out, but like, hey, tell me one good thing about me. Friend, can you tell me one good thing about me? Okay, good. And and then you can open it up, say, okay, now tell me one thing I need to work on. Okay, got it. And you take notes of both of those things. I think we talk about empathy and we talk about vulnerability but this is one thing again, practice is everything. Practice is everything. Who are you? What are you all about? And I would say that probably the best, I thought I was good at that in selling myself, but running for city council and repeatedly saying that over again, because the question came up all the time, Toby, why you? Why should I spend my vote on you? What are
yeah.
you? How are you different? How are you, and I had to answer those questions myself and I had to answer them in private first, because people
Mm,
can feed you answers. I mean, I have what they call a kitchen cabinet. I mean, these ladies are amazing. They would help me and okay, Toby, let's write this speech, let's do this, let's do that. But they couldn't help, and they couldn't help me with my why. I had to figure out my why first. When we talked about that cornerstone of confidence, you have to establish that first. I mean, you have to be the author. I can help tease it out a little bit like you do with your, or the folks that you work with, your clients, but you have to ask that question, why you? And then if you can't figure that out, may I'll ask it a little bit differently. Why not you? Right? Okay, let's work from the other side. If you just have, whatever it takes for us to kind of list the reasons why someone should do business with you. Otherwise, you know, like I was I remember being in high school, and we had a dance called the Homecoming King, and I had a couple of friends were up for it, and I was up for it too. And I said, Mom, we have to vote, on Friday, or they have to vote on Thursday. They're going to announce the winners. And she said, I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to vote for myself, because I feel like they'd be really selfish, or should I vote for somebody else? She's like, boy, you better vote for yourself. If you don't vote for you, who will?
Exactly.
My bad, Mom. You're right. Oh my
What
God,
was I thinking? Yeah.
Yeah, what was I thinking? Stupid, So, but yeah, I think we gotta you gotta think about that when you're selling yourself. Why you? What is
Yeah.
it about you? Because even with what you're doing right now, Stacey, there are other coaches out
Yeah.
there. There are other programs that people can do,
Yeah.
but you've told these people, you've shown them through years of doing what you do, to being authentic in person, to making sure that we have an organic uh you know connection, that man, everybody knows Stacy's the real deal. Stacy is the
Oh,
real deal. So I think that we just have to answer that question for ourselves first, and if you have a hard time answering it, then that's when we bring in the friends, we bring in the consultants, the Friendship Incorporated, to kind of help you along that way. Like, well, Toby, you're good at this. Toby, you're good at this. Toby, you're not good at growing hair. We know
no,
that, right? We
no.
know that. No hair advice from Toby. We know that,
Maybe not a
right?
barber. We don't know. Maybe no. I love that. I love this notion of why you and why not you. And again, this goes back to like transferable things. And so I used to, when I'd work with my team on a big client, we would do a needs assessment, what the client needed, and we would build our case. We put together our pitch. And then I would say, okay, now go back and tell me every objection they're going to have and how we're going to sell against it. So again, I never thought about applying that to ourselves too. Like, why not me? Like, why me? Why not me? So I really like that. And then the other thing you said, I think is so good too, is crowdsourcing a little bit about what you're great at, what you're not great at. And so this is another tool we use in corporate coaching, which is our executives get 360-degree reviews. And so I'll do 6 to 8 interviews with everyone, let's say, that's on your leadership team or works for you or beside you or experiences you professionally in some way. And I'll interview them. What's Toby great at? What he's not great at? How can you support him? And so we'll go through that, and I'll bring them back and analyze it and give them this beautiful review that says, here's your blind spots, dude, or this is kind of what you thought it was going to be. So I guess I invite listeners, you can do that for free on your own
Yeah, sure
today,
can.
right? Literally, reach out to 5 people who experience you the most in your daily life and in professionally, personally, whatever it is that you want to work on and be better at,
Hmm.
and get those insights. But you got to be open to them too. You got to be open to that feedback, open with
Absolutely.
a learner's mindset to be like, yeah, maybe I do get a little defensive over XYZ. So I think that's really great. Okay, so you talked a little bit about the city council. So I'm going to go over there for a second because I feel like there's probably so many great learnings. So running for city council required you to be vulnerable, like you talked about, be very visible, very visible. So, what did that experience teach you about confidence and rejection and all the things, and then just staying grounded in the end?
Yeah. I since we recruit a lot of sales individuals, we deal with people that have issues with rejection all the time. I will say this, that I've coached so many people about rejection that I know the steps. Like, okay, we do this. It's your mindset going in, and you're fine. You know your product. Don't take it personal. You're good. A no, just it doesn't mean no. It might mean just not right now, and we're okay, and we keep it moving. You know, with campaigning is, I mean, you're the product. So it does feel a lot more personal than selling a widget, right? An insurance product. And so one thing I would say is I don't have to really want it. It is a lot of it's a lot of work to run for office. It is a lot. It is not for everyone. In the same way that owning a business is not for everyone. Not everybody can do it. With all that being said, you got to have your goal, you got to be grounded, and you got to be practiced up. And but yeah, it was definitely, you know, there was definitely some instances I was like, "Oh my God, why did I do this? This is tough." But then, I would knock on another door and I would just have just the best conversation, man. It was just a fantastic conversation. Then I knock on another door and this lady wants to sit down and talk and give me her history and just tell me like why she's lived in our lovely city for this long and where she sees our city growing. And then I would talk to somebody else and they would and I could tell that maybe they were of a different political party than the one that I normally vote for. But we have so much in common, and our concerns were valid and similar. And it's like, wow, if just through this conversation, if you didn't know me, I could see you checking this box or checking that box. But through our conversation, we realized, I mean, we care a lot about the same things. We care a lot about the same things, and very, very thankful for that opportunity. Well, I didn't get into office, Stacey, and you know, it was tough, but we ran a good campaign. But you know, one thing I will say is I think you can tell the character of someone more about their character in the way that they lose and how they handle loss. And with me, my whole reason for running is I just want to help. I want to help the city. I want to help the city. I want to be here for the city. What can I do to help? And there are so many different ways to help. So I didn't need that position to help. My guy is he's a speaker here and based in Detroit. He's got a saying is fail forward, right? If you're going to
Mm,
fail forward. Let's learn everything that we can. And man, I learned a lot. I learned a ton. And now I'm like, I mean, and like you said, everything kind of leads to the next thing. Everything, and I'm all about using all these experiences to help me. So listen, this Stacey, having one person tell me no, yeah, embarrassing. Losing the race, yeah, embarrassing. But there's nothing like being booed on stage. There's nothing. Being booed on stage is is horrid. Is horrid. But I survived that. I'm good. I'm good.
yeah.
I'm fine. I'm fine. It didn't make me stop doing music. It didn't, and this loss won't keep me from being civically minded and caring and being out there. In fact, it makes me even more determined to do more. And that's it. I want to grow. So as long as you, like you said, having the right mindset is so important. So,
Yeah, yeah, and I love that. I think too, it's like with rejection or with our confidence, like you talked about that cornerstone of confidence, and if that gets shaken, I think we have two choices. I always tell my kids, you can be a player or victim. That's what you got. There's not a lot in between. And so I think raising up and saying like, I'm going to take this failure, which isn't really a failure. It's like a learning, but if we want to choose to call it that, and you take a failure and you say, I'm going to metabolize that failure. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to use that stronger to my why. Because to your point, your why didn't change. Your
that's
why
right.
is no different. So you don't need that title to be a leader. And I think that's what so many people get caught up on is they're like, oh, I didn't get that thing. So I'm not cut out for this. Or I didn't, get that promotion. I must not be worthy. So when the reality is it's that going back and doing the at bats again over and over again, even when it's really hard. Any other advice you'd give people if that cornerstone is shaken for confidence? Because that's the thing. That happens all the time in real
Hmm.
life, in marriages, in relationships, but especially professionally.
Hmm.
But what do you tell people when their confidence is shaken? How do you help them get back up?
Yeah, I mean it's tough. It is tough. A lot of times I feel, we talk about setting the table. I have another analogy that I use. You have to case the bank before you rob it. Right? So
Okay,
we have
love
to
that.
we have to know how many police officers are in there. We have to know how many
Yeah.
cameras in there. When
Yeah.
does the vault have the most money?
Yep.
What's the
Yep.
foot traffic like? All that stuff. There is going to come a time where you're going to be unhappy. It's natural. It's human. There's no avoiding it. What you can do is prepare. Now, how do you prepare? I think you got to prepare for this stuff when times are good. I
Mm,
think couples need to prepare for bad times when the good times are current. If you're having a good time, let's spend, no, let's invest this time, right,
yes.
in building equity in trust for when things get rocky. Let me learn more about you, wife. Let me learn more about you, husband. Let me learn more about you, partner, because
Yeah.
tough times are coming.
Yep.
Now, with me, I think generally when we were talking about connection, we were talking about connections with, external factors, with other people. I want to change that. I now want to talk about connection with yourself, right? I think
Mm,
connection with yourself is also very, very important. And with
mm,
that, I think you should be able to tell me or tell yourself 10 things that make you happy. What are these things
mm,
that make you happy? Why do they make you happy? Do you understand yourself? Have you connected with yourself lately? Some people's walks in the wilderness, other people it's reading a good book, other people it's exercising, it's cooking for some, it's vacation to some place that you've never been to before, going
yeah.
to a play. It's what is it that makes you happy? And I would say that when things are bad, that we use some of these things that we enjoy so much to help get us back into a factory reset so that we can
Mm,
get back into who we are. You know,
mhm,
I think that that's important because, these if we think about it, when our confidence is shaken, that whole saying, "Hey, this shook me to my core." Another
mm,
way of saying it shook me to my cornerstone. That's fine. That's
mhm,
fine. We know what our cornerstone is. We are about these things. These are the things that make us happy. These are the things that make us sad. These are the goals that I have. Okay, boom. We just have to start rebuilding. In every home, I don't care how old the home, I don't care what you made the home out of, every home is going to need an update. You know, if we
mhm,
look at ourselves as being an operational system, if you look at us as being a big computer, when's the last time we updated? When was the last
mhm,
time we updated? And did we if we don't update, we know what will happen. We will continually crash. It's time to update. And that
mm,
takes time for
mhm.
the update to fully download. You've got to say yes to a whole bunch of things. Like, Toby, you agree to this? You agree to that? Yes, yes, I do. Come on, Microsoft, hurry up. Just give it to me,
Yeah.
and then kind of go from there. So I hope I hope that all I hope that all makes sense, at least as much as sense as it made in my head when I was saying it.
No, it did, and since I'm an active listener, Toby, what I heard you say is, I love this, like, going back to the things that matter most. So when your confidence is broken or shaken, going back to, like, okay, what are the things that I know and I love and that matter? So kind of like taking a breath and being able to, like, root yourself in the bigger picture, the perspective is what I would kind of think that sounds like, and then allow yourself the notion of knowing that an update is always coming. We're all iPhones. We're all I don't know if I should know Android better, but there's an update every day in 3 months. And so I think the freedom of knowing like Stacy's going to need an update in 3 months. So instead of being like Stacy failed at that thing she was trying to do, no, she's just got to update. She's got to up level and that's okay. And that's expected behavior. And then the third thing I heard you say, which I think you might have said first, but I think for me it comes third is just reminding yourself to invest in those rainy days ahead of time to know
Hmm.
like, okay, my update's coming. Not like the other shoe's gonna fall, but just like knowing that there are things that we're gonna need to level up or that we're gonna need to change or that might shake our confidence. We might get a client we want, we might not get a client we want. It all happens for a reason, whatever you believe in anyway. But at the end of the day, knowing that you've invested in your own reserves, right? My bank investment is that I have a community around me. My bank investment is I've made good financial choices so that if my client does dump me, I'm okay for a month. So making these investments. And lastly, to your mindset, I've invested in my mindset to be strong enough to know that I'm great because of the evidence that I have from the past. So that if I do get shaken to the core, ooh, I can go back and remind myself I have that evidence. And so that's what I heard you say in all of your great storytelling. But does that resonate?
So much, so much. Building that equity or building those reserves, I think is so important. Especially especially during troubling times. But you gotta, you can't. And we're going through tough economic times right now here in the country. There's a lot of people that are suffering, and it's hard to tell people now to save money or
Yeah.
put money. It's hard to do that right now. A lot of people just don't have it. You would have had to save money when times were good, when times when
Right.
times were better, and I feel unfortunately that's the situation with a lot of people when they crash or when they fail.
Yeah.
It's like they didn't put the work in beforehand, and that's there's they feel particularly exposed, and it takes a lot of time to kind of build up those levels of confidence again. I just feel like we need to, it does take time, but there's two ways to allocate time. Is it can either be spent or it can be invested. And I feel that strongly feel that we need to do what we can to invest in ourselves more. It's not selfish because again, we go back to the saying, hey, if you can make yourself have a great day, that's great. But if you can also help make other people have a great day, it's even just as good, just
Yeah.
as good. So this self-investment is for the betterment of us all.
Yeah. So good. All right. I know you have a team to lead. You got things to do, but I want to ask you one final question. Then I want to figure out where everyone can check you out and figure out all the things you're doing. So, I guess my closing question for you is if someone is listening today and they want to build confidence and connection in work or community or relationships, what's the one thing you want them to remember about today's conversation?
All right, I'm gonna give you two things. All right, I'm gonna give you
I'll
two
allow it.
things.
I'll allow it.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Judge. Thank you,
No
Judge. I
problem.
appreciate it. Thank you. Sustained. Sustained. Okay. So I will say the first thing is understand that it takes time. Understand that it takes time and be patient. Role playing to me is huge. I think role playing is everything. And I know that it's effective. I know that it is the answer to a lot of these confidence questions. Why? Because it's the very thing that people hate to do. People hate
Yes.
it. They hate role playing. They absolutely hate it. The other thing that I would say to do would be to hire me as a consultant. If you
Perfect.
want to be more
Yes.
confident, you hire me or hire my good friend Stacy. We are people that, we're empathetic listeners and coaches. You need people that can help you be your very, very best. And I would say in my career of recruiting, coaching, consulting with, over what 500, 600 agents or 600 individuals in my time, I am confident that I know people. I don't know everything, but I do know people. And I'm very confident I can help you get on the path to be even more confident. So, yeah.
Yes, it's so true. It's so true. When I do group coaching, I'll have people practice or tell me about yourselves. And nobody wants to raise their hand. I'm like, look, you can get real awkward and cozy with us, or you can get awkward on a phone call where you want a job. I'm like,
Man,
it's a lot cheaper to just do it here. And
amen.
then I think too, it's like to remember role playing 100% is so good because you're going to get feedback on what's good and what's not good. And you're going to give your opinion and self assessment on what's good and not good. And someone like a Toby or myself can absolutely then give you also that. I'll always say, "I'll lovingly tell you, Toby, that was a little boring." Or I'll lovingly
Hmm.
tell you, like, "I don't even know what you do for a living." It's just so
Hmm.
confusing, right? And so I think having that safe space is such a
Absolutely.
true call out, and you are such an expert in this. So I love that. Okay, so will you do a lot of things? You wear a lot of
Yeah.
hats. Where do you want
Yeah.
people to check you out, come follow you, all the things?
Yeah. I'm gonna make it. I want it. I'm in my 50s, Stacy, so I'm all about keeping things simple. All right, we
Love
keep
that.
things real, real simple. Find me on Facebook. That is the
Okay.
best way. Find me on
Okay.
Facebook. Toby, last name is Braswell. That's Brazwell. That is the best way. I will connect with you. You could DM me. We can chat. We can talk. I'm always on Facebook, so that's the best way. And I will also say this too. Like you said, I love the way you said, I will lovingly give you this advice. I will lovingly do that. If I'm ever posed with a problem that, or situation like, man, listen, I don't know if I can help you. I lovingly will pass that person on to someone to I think can help you.
Yes.
And I think that that is is what I'm all about. I'm all about the bottom line, and I'm all about helping in any way that I can. So if I can't help you, if there's nothing that I can offer, I know people, I know plenty of people that I think can help. And I think that it's a beautiful thing about being blessed to have as many connections as I have. And you're the same way. You know so many people, we've connected with so many amazing rock stars in their own ways. Yeah.
It is so true because the chemistry is different for different people, or the way that we bring in
Hmm.
different experiences into the relationships. I 100% agree. I'm totally with you. So it has been such a pleasure to have you here today. It's always so
Well,
great to
thank you.
connect you. I'll see you at the chamber mixer next week and at the
Absolutely.
CEO event and all that good stuff. But thank you again for your time and your energy and your sage advice on connecting with
Thank you.
confidence. Thanks,
Well,
Toby.
thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it. I had a great time.
All right. Bye.
Bye.